Good evening. I would like to call to order the January 26, 2015 City Council meeting to order. Would everyone please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call.
Mr. Edwards?
Here.
Mr. Greenwood?
Here.
Mr. Martin is absent. Mrs. Middlestetter?
Here.
Mrs. Seeger-Lawson?
Here.
Deputy Mayor Schweller?
Here.
Mayor Baird?
Here. May I have a motion to excuse Councilman Martin?
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second.
Motion by Mrs. Middlestetter to excuse Mr. Martin, seconded by Mrs. Seeger-Lawson. Mrs. Middlestetter?
Yes.
Mrs. Seeger-Lawson?
Yes.
Mr. Edwards?
Yes.
Mr. Greenwood?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Schweller?
Yes.
And Mayor Baird?
Yes. Formal approval of regular city council meeting minutes of December 8th, 2014, and special meeting minutes of December 29th, 2014. Does any member on council have any corrections, additions to the regular city council meeting minutes of the last meeting?
I have none. None, Mayor. None.
Seeing none, the minutes are approved as written. Special guests and special announcements. We have a few gentlemen here this evening that we need to do their oath of office for the Board of Zoning Appeal and Property Review Commission, and also the board, two of them, both Board of Zoning Appeal and Property Commission. Before we start, I would like to thank both of them very much for volunteering. It's a key part to helping the city be ran properly, and it's one of the more challenging committees to be on. So first, Mr. Guy. And thank you very much.
My pleasure.
And would you please raise your right hand and repeat after me? I solemnly swear
I solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution
that I will support the Constitution
of the United States
of the United States
and the Constitution
and the Constitution
of the State of Ohio,
of the State of Ohio,
and will obey
and will obey
the laws thereof.
the laws thereof.
I will in all respects
I will in all respect
uphold and enforce
uphold and enforce
the provisions of the Charter
the envision of the Charter
and the ordinances
and the ordinances
of Bellbrook,
of Bellbrook,
and will faithfully
and will faithfully
discharge the duties
discharge the duty
of the office
in the office
upon which
upon which
I'm about to enter.
I am about to enter.
Congratulations. Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much. And I just need a signature, sir. And
Says Tom, appreciate it.
Mr. Middlestetter.
I don't have it in front of me.
Hmm?
A few people here already.
A few? Mr. Middlestetter was sitting up here when I was attending
Oh.
council meetings in, I think,
His term expires
1989.
January 31st,
Oh.
2019.
Yes. So I've known Mr. Middlestetter for a while. Would you please raise your right hand and repeat after me?
It's billing.
I solemnly swear
I solemnly swear
that I will support
to support
the Constitution
the Constitution
of the United States
of the United States
and the Constitution
and the Constitution
of the State of Ohio,
of the State of Ohio,
and will obey
and will obey
the laws thereof.
the laws thereof.
I will,
I will,
in all respects,
in all respects,
uphold and enforce
uphold and enforce
the provisions
the provisions
of the Charter
of the Charter
and ordinances
and ordinances
of
of
Bellbrook,
Bellbrook,
and will faithfully discharge
and will faithfully discharge
the duties of the office
the duties of the office
upon which
upon which
I'm about to enter.
I'm about to enter.
Congratulations. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And a signature, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
And once again, I would like to thank both gentlemen this evening for being part of our Board of Zoning Appeals. I don't attend too many meetings, but I do read all the minutes, and we haven't had anything really controversial lately, but it's always a challenge on that board. Next, we have a proclamation this evening. This is a proclamation for Republic Day of India. And that was January 25th, 2015, whereas 66 years ago, the Constitution of India came into force, completing the transition to becoming an independent republic. And whereas The India Club of Greater Dayton is celebrating the Republic Day of India on this 25th day of January 2015 in Bellbrook, Ohio. Now therefore, the City of Bellbrook supports and recognizes the celebration of the Republic Day of India. And I know we had a councilman, I could not attend, but I know Councilman Edwards did. Would you like to say a few words about your evening?
Sure, Mayor, thank you. It was an enjoyable evening. I had the honor to represent the city, and I guess I didn't know much about Republic Day, and I did a little bit of research, but it's a big Indian holiday. Like the proclamation reads, it celebrates the adoption of India's constitution. It's celebrated in India with parades and I think 3 days of various celebrations. In fact, our President Obama, was invited to be their chief guest, is what they call their honored guest there. So he was there in India this weekend. The celebration I didn't know what to expect, but it had pageantry, it had a fashion show, cultural dancing, speeches. I got to speak for a little bit, but it was a very nice evening, and I thank the India Club of Dayton for inviting me.
And it was held at our high school.
It was held at
so
Bellbrook High School,
It was a big event at our high school. So, and thank you very much for attending it.
Sure.
In my absence. Moving on, resolutions this evening. Resolution number 2015-A. Mr. Schweller.
Thank you, Mayor. Resolution 2015-A, a resolution authorizing the city manager/finance director to file with the county auditor requests for advances of taxes collected. Whereas the Greene County Treasurer is in the process of collecting property taxes for 2015, whereas tax settlements will return to the city those taxes collected for the police, fire, general, and police pension funds, and whereas these settlements will not be ready in final form until after a significant amount of the taxes are collected, whereas such advances of taxes provide the city with a percentage of taxes already collected which can then be expended by the city. Now therefore, the City of Bellbrook hereby resolves Section 1, that the city manager/finance director is hereby authorized to request advances of taxes in amounts authorized by the Greene County Auditor at those times during 2015 when sufficient taxes have been collected. Section 2, this resolution shall take effect and be enforced forthwith. And Mark, this is a routine item we do on an annual basis to accelerate the receipt of taxes collected from the auditor. I guess the bills will be going out soon.
Yes, I'm sure the bills will be out soon, and as the payments start coming in, the county auditor will send that on our way to us ahead of when we'd normally get it, which is usually in early April. So just gets our money a little quicker.
And we do this every year.
Every year.
And for a long time. Any questions on council?
No, Mayor.
Seeing none, may I have a motion to adopt resolution number 2015-A?
I'd like to move for the adoption of resolution 2015-A.
May I have a second?
I'll second it.
I have a motion by Mr. Schweller to adopt resolution number 2015-A, authorizing the city manager, finance director to file with the county auditor request for advances of taxes collected. Seconded by Mrs. Middlestetter. Mr. Schweller?
Yes.
Mrs. Middlestetter?
Yes.
Mr. Edwards?
Yes.
Mr. Greenwood?
Yes.
Mrs. Seeger Lawson?
Yes.
Mayor Baird?
Yes. One more resolution this evening, resolution 2015-B. Mr. Edwards.
Thank you, Mayor. Resolution number 2015-B, a resolution authorizing the city manager to participate in a contract with the Department of Administrative Services, Office of the State Purchasing, for the purchase of a police vehicle for the city of Bellbrook. Whereas Section 240.03 of the Municipal Code allows the city to purchase goods and services through a cooperative arrangement with other government entity, and whereas the Department of Administrative Services, Office of the State Purchasing, has entered into a contract with Statewide Ford, Van Wert, Ohio, for the purchase of certain equipment in accordance with Section 125.04 of the Ohio Revised Code. Now therefore, the City of Bellbrook hereby resolves, Section 1, that the city manager be authorized to participate in a contract with Statewide Ford for the purchase of the following vehicle for the Bellbrook Police Department. 1, 2015 Ford Sedan Police Interceptor with accessories for a gross price of $23,746. Section 2, that the city of Bellbrook directly pays the vendor for said equipment under state contract. Section 3, that this resolution shall take effect and be enforced from and after the earliest period allowed by law. Mr. Slagheck, did you have?
Yes, in the 2015 budget, we have replacement of the police chief's unmarked police car. He is currently driving a 2007 Crown Victoria that was a cruiser before that and has seen its better day, to say the least. So we're going to purchase this. The budget included $24,000, so this price came in just under that amount for the purchase of this new vehicle for the chief.
I know we already discussed this through the budget process. Does anyone else on city council have any other questions regarding this?
I'm just curious what kind of car is it?
It's like the Interceptor is what Ford's version of the police car is now. So it's like a Taurus is what it is.
Okay.
It's just a sedan, mid-size sedan type thing. But it's the same car that they would use for a police cruiser with just different accessories on it.
Okay.
Any other questions? If not, may I have a motion to adopt resolution number 2015-B?
I'll make a motion to adopt resolution number 2015-B.
May I have a second?
I have a motion by Mr. Edwards to adopt resolution number 2015-B, authorizing the city manager to participate in a contract with the Department of Administrative Services, Office of State Purchasing for the purchase of a police vehicle for the city of Bellbrook. Seconded by Mrs. Seeger Lawson. Mr. Edwards?
Yes.
Mrs. Seeger Lawson?
Yes.
Mr. Greenwood?
Yes.
Mrs. Middlestetter?
Yes.
Mr. Schweller?
Yes.
Mayor Bear?
Yes. Moving on. City manager's report.
Yes, this is the time of the year that we begin to do different reports on how 2014 finished up. So there's a couple different things here I wanted to go through with council. The first one is on our waste collection and recycling statistics for 2014. As you can see from the chart, just over 3,000 tons total was collected from our residents. Of that, 79% was taken to the landfill, and 21%, or 657 tons, was recycled. The next slide will show you sort of a historic where that stands. It's a little bit higher than it has been, but over the past 5 years, each year it's been just under 3,000 range. But if you look at it, and this always surprises me, but what this averages out, we have just over 2,500 households in Bellbrook that use our waste collection. That means each household generates 1.23 tons of waste and recycling per year. It doesn't seem like that when you wheel it out to the trash every week, but if that's what it is. Of that, almost 1 ton of that is waste that you wheel out in your trash. So that's what it is. It's been, like I said, fairly consistent. It is good to see that the recycling number is up a little bit, but along with that, our waste went up too. And sometimes that will vary based on the number of collections during a year. So if they collect on Fridays, if you have an extra Friday in any given year, that will increase a little bit. But we've been pretty consistent. The contract that we have with Rumpke, this is the 3rd year of the contract. 2015 it will expire at the end of this year. The city does have options to extend that for 2 years. We'll talk about that here in the coming months, what we want to do with that. I think generally everyone's been satisfied with Rumpke and the service they've provided during their contract. Next, I want to talk about property taxes. We talked earlier about getting advances, but I want to talk more specifically about the rates. First, 2014 was a reassessment year, reappraisal year for the county. So they went through and reappraised every property. Every property owner has probably seen a note from the county auditor telling them what their new value is going to be. It may have gone up, may have gone down. Overall for the city, as you can see from this chart, our total property values have gone down. Residential agriculture has gone down about 0.5%. Commercial industrial gone down 0.18%. So overall, just under 0.5%, we decreased in our valuation. Public utility tangible has actually increased 3.56%. So our overall valuation has decreased just about 0.4%. Not a huge decrease, but that does have an impact on our taxes. And you'll see a little bit of what the impact is on the next slide. So this is what a typical, if you own a $100,000 home, This is what a comparison of your taxes for last year to this year are. So taxes are actually going to go up, not because, well, there was one levy. The county did pass a levy. That might have been the library levy, is what was that. So that's the $14 increase there. The $6 increase in city taxes, we didn't have any changes to our levies, but as property values go down, we still collect the same amount of money, so people are going to have to pay a little bit more. We're still going to get the same amount of money, but overall, property values went down, so the revenue, the tax bill will go up a little bit. And the school district is going up by $47, not because, again, of any levies, but they have bonds that they do, and those levies are set every year based on the debt payments that they have to make. So this is what the debt service is for this year, and that's how they came up with that amount. So if you own a $100,000 home, you're going to pay $67 more in taxes in 2015 than you did in 2014. If you haven't, or you probably will be getting your bill soon, but any of this information is available from the Greene County Auditor on their website. The other thing, and I don't know if anyone saw the article in the paper, and not to say anything about Vectren here, but Vectren has filed to reduce their value. So on that slide here, that public utility tangible, that is made up of values from DP&L and Vectren. That's what those values are. And what Vectren has requested to reduce that, the impact to the city of Bellbrook is relatively minor. Right now we collect between those two, well for Vectren in 2015, we would collect $51,000 in taxes on that. They are requesting, no, I'm sorry, that's not what the city would collect. That's the total taxes that would be paid to everyone in Greene County for that. They're requesting to reduce that down to $20,000, so it'd be a $31,000 reduction. For the city, we get about $9,400. What their request is to take that to $3,700, so it's about a $5,700 reduction in taxes if that appeal goes through. That is going through, I believe that's through the state of Ohio is who handles those appeals. So it's not anything that we control, but that will have an impact on our revenue. Not as much as it does school districts and the county and things like that, but it will have an impact on our revenues here in Bellbrook if that appeal goes through. Next, I'd like to talk about zoning permits and property maintenance issues. So this is a chart of zoning permits that were issued in 2014. So the far right is 2014. There's a total of 121 permits. That compares to 130 last year. Probably, you know, these are obviously things for decks, additions, things like that. The one that has probably the biggest financial impact is this bottom section here. This is single-family homes. So in 2013, we had permits for 22. In 2014, there was 8. Primarily, those homes were in the Vineyard Section 1, so I anticipate that as the Vineyard Section 2 begins construction this year, we'll see that number go back up again in 2015. And then property maintenance and zoning violations. We track this information. A lot of these are generated by residents that will complain to us about neighbors or things like that, things that they see. So the blue section are property maintenance. These are things that could be tall grass or weeds, anything of that nature. So we saw a slight increase in those from 110 last year to 123 this year. Some of that, we've sent out a significant number of letters to people who, we've heard about the emerald ash borer for many years. It's finally actually impacting trees in this area. And so any tree that's adjacent to the public right-of-way that may have fall on a sidewalk, on a roadway, we've sent letters to those people based on our code saying that those trees have to be removed because they're unsafe. So that's part of the reason that those increased. The zoning violations actually decreased significantly. I asked staff to go back and look. They didn't really find anything specific. There were, in 2013, there were a lot of vehicles parked on grass, things of that nature. One of the things we do attribute it to is the word is sort of out. When there's a property review commission meeting, we send notice to the residents, the adjacent residents, so that they know that these things are going on. So we're hoping the word's sort of getting out and people are addressing these issues before they become violations. And then finally, I found interesting the green portion are things that were reported to us that we ended up finding they were not actually violations. So people called in and said, you know, their neighbor was doing this or they saw this. Ultimately, it was not something that was a violation of our code, so they didn't go anywhere beyond that. We do obviously research all those, but there was nothing nothing that went beyond that. So those are just some of the statistics from last year. A couple other items that I have. The planning board met earlier in January in a work session. There was a case that went before the Board of Zoning Appeals talking about automatic pool covers, and a resident wanted to eliminate the requirement that you have a fence around the yard if you had an automatic pool cover. The planning board met on multiple occasions, but this last time they met, there was a representative from Knickerbocker Pools here, provided some additional information, but the planning board decided to make no change to the code and continue to require that there be a fence around the properties. It may be different if we had 5-acre lots, 3-acre lots, but as we all know, the lots here in Bellbrook are pretty small. The houses are relatively close. There's a lot of things going on, and they really felt that the fence was the appropriate requirement to maintain in the code. Couple other items. One, the city has a lease on some land for a cell tower. The cell tower on South Main Street is a lease. It's a long-term lease with a company called Crown Castle. What we get out of that is we receive about $32,000 a year in lease payments from Crown Castle for that property. We've been contacted by another company that wants to purchase our interest in that lease, and this has happened multiple times in the 6 years that I've been here. The numbers never really made much sense. For if we're getting $30,000 a year and somebody wants to give us $150,000 to $200,000 and buy it, or at least it doesn't make sense. We now have a proposal from another company that they're willing to basically buy our lease. They want to give us a lump sum of $400,000+ to buy out that lease. And then in addition to that, if they're able to put additional carriers on that tower, we'll get 50% of that revenue going forward. So right now there's 2 carriers on that tower, T-Mobile and Clearwire, I think, are the 2 that are on there. If they were to get another carrier to put on there at $2,000 a month, we'd get $1,000 a month of that revenue. There's no guarantees that they could do that, just the same as there's no guarantee that that tower will be there tomorrow or next year or 10 years from now. I mean, cell towers come and go, they find new locations, they put different things, they find better deals. So it's not something we have to decide tonight, but it's something that I wanted to bring to your attention. It's something I'm going to pursue further. There's some language in our current lease that I've got to make sure that we comply with legally to even pursue this. But I think this might be worth looking at. If you look at $400,000 lump sum, who knows where the technology of cells towers are going to be 10 to 15 years from now. So when you start looking at the present value and things like that, it may be worthwhile to pursue that. So if there is action, it'll have to come before council. But there is a letter of intent that, or a letter of agreement that would just allow them to continue pursuing this, but any formal action would have to be taken by council. So in the coming meetings, we'll probably discuss this more if it works out that it makes sense. And then finally, the last item that I had tonight, something that has been talked about a lot, and I know is financial transparency. I know the state of Ohio has just put on their website that they have, you can go out there and literally see every accounts payable check that they write. It's out there in a database. You can search it. You can find anything you want. My question, I guess, to council is, how much financial transparency do you, I've not had anyone come to me and say, you know, I want to know every penny that's being spent and who the checks are being written to. That's certainly data that we have. We can make it available. I would make it available to anyone who came and asked for it. But I guess, I don't know if you've heard anything different that you want to, we can pursue this further. We can put more information. Is what we have out on the website enough today, or is there more that we need to put out there?
I guess my opinion is, depends on how many requests we get. If we're getting a lot of requests, then I would figure out a way that it would be less manpower for us to do it and put that potentially out there. But if we're not getting that many requests at this point and we're following through with any requests and following law, I would say nothing at this time, but
Because it costs money to put it on.
yeah, that's the whole thing.
There's gonna be time and effort to get out there.
Right.
I think we're fine where we're doing it right now unless someone comes in and asks us for it. If we start getting a lot of requests, then it's gonna be more expedient for us to have it out there than answer every request. But until we go to that point, I think I would stay the course. I don't know, I think we put enough out there, the budget's certainly out there, the periodic updates, the quarterly updates are out there, and you would certainly provide anything else anybody would ask for. So I would just stay the course until we get a lot of demand for it.
That's why we don't get,
That's right.
mainly the requests we get are from the media, if there's an issue, not always even with us, but they're looking for data for, to compare us to other jurisdictions and things of that nature. But it's one of those buzzwords that's out there now. I know, like I said, the state has done this, and they've put that out there, and I know sometimes that's politically motivated to do that, but I just want to make sure, I guess, if you hear anything different, we can put whatever information out there. I just don't want to spend a lot of time putting information out there that no one's going to look at or no one is concerned about, so.
I think the important thing is, if somebody does ask, to make it easy.
Yeah.
Because, if people have to go through hoops, that brings question in people's minds.
Yes.
So I think it's good the way it is now.
And that's what we will certainly do that. I mean, there are, the public records laws are that you don't have to create documents and stuff like that. However, sometimes it's easier for us to put things together
Yeah.
to meet somebody's requirements so that they can understand it, rather than give them some report that means nothing to them because it's, something that we use internally. So yeah, we would certainly work with anyone that made a request and make it as easy as possible. I mean, that's our goal, is to, we want to be as transparent. If somebody has a question, we'll certainly answer it, and virtually everything we do is public information, so they can look at it all.
I haven't heard any complaints that we aren't providing enough information, so
Okay.
I think what we're doing is fine.
Okay, good. That is all I have this evening.
Thank you very much.
I had a couple questions for Mark, just on a couple items. First, on the cell tower thing, I don't know what the deal is right now, but it seems to be very much in vogue to buy and sell cell towers. It seems like there's a lot of activity out there in the marketplace, and for one thing, let's just run the net present value. I know we've done this a handful of times. We've gotten a lot of estimates for it. Second thing, on the waste removal, is there any benchmarking on that stuff, or does Rumpke give us any feedback? I mean, it says that we've got, 1.23 tons per household. Does that matter? Is that high or low? Or are they trying to push us toward more recycle, or?
They've not done anything. They provide the
Okay.
information. They've not done anything different, but that is something that we could ask, just to see from other communities, just to see, or we can, some communities track that stuff. A lot of them don't even know, wouldn't even have that information, but
All right, okay.
that's something I can ask them, just to see
If it's
if,
available, I wouldn't ask you to go to any great efforts to try to put it together, but I was just curious about the whole thing, to see once if we're a green community, if we're, throwing more trash in landfill than recycle. But
okay.
Do we save more money through the contract by having more recycling, or?
No.
Fixed cost.
It's a fixed cost, and in some ways, I think recycling is actually more expensive than the landfill at times, and as unfortunate as that may be, but it's, to them, it's just where they haul it and what they do with it.
Anyone else on council have any questions for our city manager?
None there.
Seeing none, we'll move on. Is there any old business on city council this evening?
You gonna do
Yes,
reports?
the committee reports.
That's new business.
No committee.
Oh, committee, yep, skipped all of those. Ha. Thank you.
Trying to get
Committee
out.
reports. We'll start with, wonder if we should do the appointments first.
That's, you
Doesn't
can do it
matter.
under new business.
You can just
Yeah.
do the committee reports.
We'll go ahead and do the committee reports, even though they're officially not filled yet. Service.
I guess I have two things tonight. I haven't heard, we've had a recent snow event. I haven't heard any complaints. I don't think you've heard any complaints about our streets, and so I think the street department is doing a great job of cleaning off the streets when we get snow events. And then the second thing is I noticed, and I don't know if this was us or somebody else, but there was tree trimming along Little Sugar Creek. Was that us that did tree trimming?
We did do some at
That's
one
when
Within
we
the
point.
last
closed the
couple
road
of
down.
weeks or
Yeah,
so?
we closed the road down and did some, it's not been the last couple of weeks, but it was,
Couple
Oh,
months.
I just
Yeah,
noticed
it's been
it
a while
probably.
ago.
Yeah.
last couple weeks.
Yeah.
yeah, so it's been a little while, but we did that probably in November or something like that. We closed the road down for a day and went through there and.
Because it did seem like they were starting to get
Yes.
sort of.
Mhm.
Yeah, so that's what we take that opportunity when we can to, unfortunately, we've got to close the road down, but we'll do it occasionally just to keep it off the roadway.
That's all I have.
Safety, which we do not have a chairman at this point. We will in about 5 minutes. Finance and audit.
Mayor, just a quick comment. I know we got an update for the city's financial position as of December 31, 2014, and it's almost uncanny, the fact that our revenue is within $37,000 of what it was in 2013, and our expenses are within roughly $29,000 of what it was in 2013. So And a lot of the pieces in between moved up and down, but it's still kind of uncanny that we track that close. But the other thing it tells us is that it seems like and even our budget, we're pretty close. It seems like we got a pretty good handle on what's going on. And this day and age, with all the budget cutbacks and the limitations on state funding, it's now more important than ever that we try to budget as tight as we did. I think we did a really good job at doing that for the 2015 budget. So
I would agree. Anything else, Mr. Schwally?
that's all for tonight.
Community affairs.
In community affairs, just that we selected people for committees, which will be, or boards, which will be, we just swore them in, but we're going to be needing people for the Old Village Review Board. So we'll be putting ads out for people to serve on that board. And that's probably it for now this time.
Thank you very much. That is it for committee reports. Does anyone have any old business to discuss this evening? New business. We do have one thing I know of this evening. We need to appoint our commissions and committees. And Carrie, would you like to go over that, and then we can...
Sure. For the Records Commission, for 2015, Mary Graves as the community volunteer. Representative to the Greene County Board of Health on behalf of the City of Bellbrook, Bill Beeman, would serve another 4 or 5 year term. For the council committees for 2015, the Finance Committee, Mike Schweller as chairman, Nick Edwards and Donna Seeger-Lawson. For the Safety Committee, Forrest Greenwood as chairperson, John Martin and Elaine Middlestetter. Community Affairs, Elaine Middlestetter chair, Nick Edwards and John Martin. Service, Donna Seeger-Lawson as chair, Forrest Greenwood and Mike Schweller. Regional agency delegates for the Bellbrook Sugar Creek Chamber of Commerce, Elaine Middlestetter. Greene County Department of Development, Mark Schlagheck. Greene County Regional Planning Commission, Donna Seeger-Lawson. Mayors and managers will be Mayor Baird and Mr. Schlagheck. Miami Valley Regional Planning Commission, Mayor Baird will be the delegate. Museum Board will be Mrs. Middlestetter. Solid Waste Advisory Committee and the Wastewater Committee, Mr. Schlagheck. And Firefighters Dependency Fund Board, Mr. Schweller and Mr. Martin.
And then I think maybe just for the record, Mark Schlagheck will be the Miami Valley Regional Planning Commission, because we may have to have a record of that. With that, does anyone have any questions first? I know we talked about this in a work session this evening. If there are none, may I have a motion to accept the appointment of commissions and committees as presented?
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second?
A motion by Mr. Schweller to approve the committees as read for 2015, seconded by Mrs. Seeger-Lawson. Mr. Schweller?
Yes.
Mrs. Seeger-Lawson?
Yes.
Mr. Edwards?
Yes.
Mr. Greenwood?
Yes.
Mr. Martin is not here, I'm sorry. Mrs. Middlestetter?
Yes.
And Mayor Baird.
Yes. Is there any other new business on City Council this evening? Seeing none, I will move to open discussion. Start with Mr. Edwards.
I don't have anything tonight, Mayor.
Mr. Greenwood?
I'd just like to mention the last snow event, that the proposal that the service department came up with, they worked it pretty well. Looked like they conserved some salt. And as they planned, I think it worked out well.
Yeah, so far we've had good results, and
Yeah.
as Mrs. Seeger-Lawson said, I haven't had any complaints,
Yeah.
So far. So
I mean, you did conserve a lot of salt, though, I mean.
yes,
Compared
yeah,
to-
they've done a good job of maintaining what we have and
Yeah.
trying to keep it on hand.
Yes.
And what we say combined, we got what, approximately 1,000 tons, and year to date we used 111 tons.
Yeah, between both the
So-
city and the schools. Yes.
So between the city and schools, so that's pretty good through almost January, which is over half the winter. So Mother Nature is cooperating, and we have good salt supply and have been using it efficiently.
And judiciously.
Ms. Middlestetter.
Just to comment on that salt, I, for one, am glad that we're not putting that much salt in the environment. and on our concrete driveways. Other scraping it off and plowing seems to make it safe enough, and people just are slowing down. So I think it's a good thing on all fronts, not just the financial front. So, good deal.
Thank you. Mrs. Seeger Lawson.
I just want to say thank you to the folks that have volunteered on the boards. Those are not paid positions and sometimes get pretty heated. But just wanted to say thank you for volunteering, and also Bill Beeman for being on the Greene County Board of Health. I understand he's been on
Yeah,
that for some time.
yes, and also, I don't know if I mentioned, who is our other, Michael Thompson will also be sworn in on the planning board too, who could not be here this evening, so that's another one just to let people know. Mr. Schweller.
Just want to congratulate council on their wisdom and foresight for rescheduling our January the 12th meeting so that we could watch the National Football Championship. And instead, we did meet on December the 29th. That turned to be a pretty good decision. So well done, council.
Even though we had to have a special meeting, it was well
That's
worth
right.
it.
That's right. That's
So,
right.
that was, and, go Bucks. I do not have anything this evening. This is an open discussion, so we will open it up to the audience if anyone would like to get up. If not, I do see that we have a Boy Scout to be out there. Would you like to come up and say your name and tell why you're here? I told Alex I was going to call him up, so he didn't believe me probably. We have a
That is my last one.
last one.
Yeah.
What badge are you working on?
My citizenship in the community,
And what is your name?
Alex Crane.
And did you enjoy the meeting this evening, Alex?
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any questions of any of us on city council?
Nope.
Nope. All right, well, you did a good job. Here you go. You can have a city pen, and thank you very much for coming out. Louis? Seeing no further business, we are going to break for executive session. We are going to be discussing evaluations of our city manager and clerk of council. Do I need a motion to do that?
Yes.
And so may I have a motion to break to executive session to discuss employee evaluations for the city manager and clerk of council?
So moved.
May I have a second?
I'll second it.
Motion by Mr. Schweller to enter into executive session to discuss employee evaluations for the city manager and clerk of council. Seconded by Mrs. Middlestetter. Mr. Schweller?
Yes.
Mrs. Middlestetter?
Yes.
Mr. Edwards?
Yes.
Mr. Greenwood?
Yes.
Mrs. Seeger Lawson?
Yes.
Mayor Barry?
Yes.